There's something to be said for making a high-value podcast, which is why many continue year after year. But making a high-concept show can also be rewarding. Do you have time to make both? Hello and welcome to another podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. If you look at a list of the top podcasts, like the Podcast Consumer Report by Edison Research, which asks people exactly what podcast they are listening to, you'll see a couple of different groupings emerge. There's the news/talk variety, which is a very big bucket, I will agree, comprising of things like politics, and comedy, and long-form interviews, even current events. Everything else, from true crime to storytelling to documentaries, we can place in another very big bucket that we'll call high concept. And while some listeners certainly do have preferences, a lot of the podcast listening audience today consumes podcasts from both very big buckets. But most podcasters, however, only produce podcasts for one of those very big buckets. And most of them, they're producing podcasts that fit in the news talk bucket, not in the high concept bucket. Why is that? You may be tempted to say it's because it's too hard to make a high concept show. And while I will not argue against the point, it is hard to make a high concept show, I would counter that with a slight change in perspective. News/talk podcasts tend to be easier to make in comparison. And because of that, it's easy to apply the learnings from your current news/talk podcast format and make another news/talk show format. Rinse and repeat, right? It's not that you don't have the skills to do a high-concept podcast. You probably do. It's just that the gravity of keeping doing what you've been doing is quite strong. You probably have a high-value show out of that news/talk podcast. And you know how to make high-value shows. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Well, what if you want to fix it? Making a high-concept podcast can be incredibly rewarding. And applying your skills in a different area to become even more versatile, well, that makes you all the much more valuable. Producing a high-concept show can also expose you to a brand new audience, one that might be interested in the full compendium of your podcasting prowess if you impress them. But how do you keep your current podcast train running and devote the time necessary to make a new high-concept show? I have a suggestion. Here are 2 tips to guide you on your journey to making a high-concept podcast alongside the high-value news/talk podcast you probably already make. Tip number 1, think big, but start small. Your concept may be, and probably should be, rather big, but you need to start small. Don't forget, you already have a podcast that's working for you, and you have a lot of learning, research, and trying out of new things ahead of you as you try and take on all the new ways you need to learn how to make this high-concept podcast. It's very likely that this is going to be a nights and weekend project for you, which is made all the more complicated if you're already using your nights and weekend to make your high-value podcast. But hey, that's okay. Don't neglect your bread and butter. Podcasting is not going anywhere. You have plenty of time ahead of you to work on this high-concept show. Tip number 2, think differently. High-concept podcasting doesn't need to follow the same production, release, or even promotional schedule as your news/talk format podcast. Many high-concept shows take years to produce and encompass less than 10 episodes. Yet they can have huge staying power as new audiences discover them year after year. High-concept podcasting is not for everyone, but if you'd like to give it a shot, there's a lot that you can learn from your current podcasting experience that you can bring to the table as you make this new high-concept show. Just give it time and give yourself room to see what high-concept podcasting means for you and what you can create. I know I'd love to listen. With that, I shall be back tomorrow with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers!